understand it. I just don't understand zoning out or not. That's what I guess the excuse was. They zoned out and he blanked out, whatever, was all asleep. Jesus.
Well, they said, had he not said anything like that...
I can't believe he said it. That's the whole point.
Well,
I can't believe he said that himself.
It was just the fact that, when you put two and two together, it was a combination of, it was a new tour that he was not used to. It was the tail end of his tour. It's not like it was at the very beginning. He was extremely tired, okay? I don't think he realized he was going 82 miles an hour and that the curve was coming up, okay? And by the time he realized it, like you say, and it's happened to all of us, especially when you're sitting on your couch in your living room.
Right.
You close your eyes and all of a sudden you zone out. I know my wife will always tell me, you were sleeping. And I'll say, no, I wasn't, because to me it didn't seem like I was sleeping. Well, that's probably what it was for him. And the fact that he said something, unfortunately, means that he's now open for prosecution.
Right.
He takes the
I don't
blame
know.
for it.
I don't know if he'll, Well, but you see, then they brought up another case of a bus driver about a year ago who also said that he nodded out for a few seconds and the bus crashed and 13 people were killed and he was found not guilty. So I think it's a matter of where the case is going to be tried.
Is that the bus that flipped over going to the casino, the bus driver that killed all
Yes.
Yeah, that was the casino bus.
Yeah, the thing is, what are they going to get it for?
Right, fall asleep. He obviously tested out.
Criminally negligent homicide.
I heard he tested.
That's what it is.
No drugs, I heard, or alcohol.
He was negligent. It was criminally negligent homicide. It wasn't manslaughter because he didn't start out to kill anybody.
No. It's so unfortunate. I don't even talk about it anymore because it's so sad.
I think he's going to, the worst punishment he's going to have is
he has to live with it.
Is going to, exactly.
Right, he's going to live with
it.
Exactly right.
He's a guy. He's a working stiff like you or I, and it's unfortunate, terribly unfortunate that this thing happened, and it cost the lives of 4 people, and 64 people. Or 62 people are in the hospital, recuperating.
Arms.
But the bottom line is he has to live with that.
Yeah. Many years ago,
I don't know.
I backed up and ran over a dog.
It's so sad.
And I've never been able to forget that.
You did?
I ran over a dog.
Jesus.
That was under my tires. I backed up and ran over a dog, and it killed him.
Sorry to laugh,
but now, after all these years, when I back up my car, I still can't back up my car like a normal person. I go very slowly, very carefully, because I always remember that. So you live with these things.
And even policemen and firemen. When a policeman is involved with what they call a good kill, okay, in other words, somebody has a gun, he's shooting at you. You shoot back. If you kill the person, it's mandatory that you see a psychologist for a certain number of sessions to make sure you're okay. Even though you're only protecting yourself. But then, you see, let's take it one step further. What about all the combat soldiers?
Right.
To some extent, the enemy is hundreds of yards away or something. Right. But suppose the guy was almost within touching distance, and he's got his weapon out and you have your weapon out. It's a matter of who's going to fire first.
I obviously am lucky never to experience that, but I heard a cop life expectancy after they retire is only 7 years because of what they dealt with. 7 years they die. After they retire.
Well, but also by the same token, if very few policemen actually fire their weapon, except when they go to the shooting range. There are I know that the newspapers glorify and write about all these police shootings, etc., but it's a very small percentage of police that actually fire their weapon.
You're right. You're right about that.
Because they know that they're going to be questioned. They're going to get the third degree from their commanding officer, and they're going to go before the board and the review board, and it has to be designated as a good shoot, okay? That basically you were protecting others or you were protecting yourself. And then you have stories about firemen who go into burning buildings, and they know that there's somebody in there, and they can't reach the person, and they have to live with the fact that that person is going to die, and they assume the blame when they really did all that they could.
Right, I know.
Plus, also the other side of it, there aren't that many cops that are put into situations where they would need to use their gun. It's actually pretty rare where cops actually have to fire on somebody.
I see you don't remember the 70s.
Talking about the 2000, I'm not talking about 50 years ago.
I mean, maybe things have changed, but the bottom line is, look, we run away from the problem. A cop runs toward the problem. Just like we run out of a burning building and the firemen run into the burning building.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Mark, you're absolutely 100% correct. We don't understand what they do. Right, you and I run out of the building. They run into the building. That's what they get paid to do. But it's not about paid. It's about just being heroism and trying to save a life.
Well, that's their job. It's not being a hero. It's their job is to fight a fire.
I know it's their job, but still, they make.
I think you need a certain personality, and not every person can do that. You just don't do it for the money.
Well, you certainly don't get paid enough. Let's put it that way. I don't care what anybody says.
How about all these volunteer firemen and all these?
Well, yeah, outside of New York City, except for the incorporated towns on the island, which I think pay their volunteer firemen. They're not so volunteer, but in an ordinary town like Baldwin, let's say, or Oceanside, these are regular towns that they have an emergency squad. Okay, they have a rescue squad. They have regular firemen, and these guys go through almost the same training as the FDNY. How do you enter a building that's burning? How you go about saving people?
But they don't get paid for it.
Well, no, wait, hold on, guys. I'm glad you brought that up because I brought money with the volunteers, firefighters, Mark. Don't they get something? They
get a break on their taxes usually.
But if they put 10, 20 years, don't they get some sort of pension?
No, not if you're not putting into it. No.
I don't know.
But I do believe that they get. I do believe that they get a break on their taxes.
They do get breaks. I heard that.
If they have a home, they get a break on.
I'm glad they're volunteering and they're doing the right thing, but. I heard that they get some sort of health insurance for their life at the end of their term, and they get a lot of perks.
They do get. I believe it's free health insurance because obviously, how can you charge them since they're not drawing a salary?
Yeah. Right, they're not drawing salary, but they get a lot of perks. I tell you, a lot of perks they get.
Well, listen,
a job that I wouldn't want to do.
And I don't think they do it for the perks.
No, they don't. They do it like, like the police. They do it to keep their town safe,
Well, look, hold on a second. How many followers you have on before what I'm about to say? How many followers you guys have before I get lynched? Because I know them all too well. I used to I worked for a pizzeria. How many followers you have before I get lynched?
Followers? Actual followers who checked out that they're followers?
Yeah, before I get lynched. Because I deliver pizzas. And I work for a pizzeria, flip pizzerias, pizzeria, pizza, food, made food, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the cops and firefighters, they got a good life. They used to deliver, they play pool, they had TV, the cops and the firefighters all hang out together.
Well, no, you got to understand something. There's always somebody in every firehouse. There's always a skeleton crew. If they're needed, okay, if there is a fire or something like that, an alarm goes out, okay, and they're called in. But the firehouses are never empty, Okay,
no, never empty. No, never.
They have to be manned. They have to have people there. And again, if I knew somebody who was on a rescue squad, and calls used to go out because, let's face it, sometimes, let's say you got 4 people, and one of the people isn't available. So you call up one of the other people who maybe it's not their turn to go, but they need somebody as a stand-in. Okay? So, I mean, you got to be ready 24/7.
Right. Oh, absolutely. No, I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. I'm just trying to give a different light on the situation.
I mean, those guys, the firemen, I don't know how many hours they stay on, but they basically eat and sleep in the firehouse.
I know. I just they come around in the fire trucks and Christmas time and for money and whatnot. But I've been in these firehouses, and now look, I really I shouldn't even bring up the conversation because I want them to drag me out of my home if the house is on fire. But man, I don't understand with the free. I mean, my pizzeria would just give them free food, and I'll bring it over to them.
Yeah.
Just give them
well, why not? I mean, they're not. Yeah, they're not getting paid. They're not getting paid.
Usually what happens is they each chip in a couple of bucks and give the delivery person some money. But, usually they're ordering from local businesses first of all.
Right, they're ordering from local, but they know it's free food.
And when they're home, they're paying for the pizza because they're not using the fact that they're volunteer firemen and getting it for nothing, But...
Well, listen, when you're on duty, you're not getting paid. You're sitting there sometimes for 12. You're on duty for 24 hours.
Well, you forget one perk that they get, okay?
What's that?
Which is something we all wish we had. When it snows, these guys are the first to have their street and their driveways plowed so they can get out in case of an emergency.
Right. Okay.
And they get to drive a red fire engine.
Okay.
Well, not everybody gets to do that.
I cannot...
Felix is jealous because he's got himself a red hat that he's had for a long time, ever since he was a kid, and every now and then he puts it on his head and he pretends that the sirens are going off and he's going to put out a fire. Whoop, whoop.
Is he wearing it now?
He doesn't have it on now. No.
No, I love our people to protect us. I just seen so many things with. My ex-father-in-law was a police sergeant, or lieutenant, Nassau County. I see they just didn't do much. See, now it's unfair to me it's different between city and Nassau County. 2 different things.
Well, you see
City people work. They work hard, the city cops.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Where is it most dangerous? It's most dangerous in New York City.
Right.
They get paid the least, okay? Suffolk County, and I'm not saying Suffolk County is not... Right. Some areas are so dangerous.
Right.
Not dangerous, but, Suffolk County is the highest paid police department, I think, in almost the country. They're way up there. All right? Yeah. Nassau County doesn't get paid as much as Suffolk, but in all honesty, I don't think they have much crime in Nassau County.
No, they don't. That's why I get upset. That's why I called to make this conversation, because I get upset when our taxes are paying for that. They have a bar. They have a bar in that fire. I mean, a big bar in my firehouse, my county here. I've been there. I've seen it. I've been there several times. They got bars.
Well, don't forget, that's also because they rent out the place.
Oh, right. Well, you're right.
Parties.
I'm sorry. You're right, Mark.
They do have. I mean, people get married and they have their reception in VFW houses and firehouses. They have a whole bar. Sure.
Yeah, I know.
Because that's how they generate money. Also.
You know what? Like I just said, city is different from Nassau and Suffolk, because the Nassau County is not many other than certain areas, like you said. But I mean, I don't know. I just got me so upset when I'm financially hurting, and I see my taxes going to beer and pizzas. That's when I get frustrated.
Well, like I said, the pizzerias or the Chinese restaurants. Well, let's leave it at pizzerias.
Whatever, right?
That give the free pizzas or the free heroes. The bottom line is, a lot of times they write a lot of that stuff off.
No.
Okay.
I shouldn't even bring up the conversation. I do love the, fire cops and the firemen and stuff, but